Hello, I'm Visklugers and welcome to Armored Warfare, and today we have announcement about the BWP-1M PUMA premium tank, and this is a premium vehicle that has only a limited window of actually obtaining, just like the Chieftain Mark 6, except you really didn't have a very good window of getting the Chieftain. But the PUMA, you have a very solid opportunity to get one, and I'll be going through in this video how you can get the PUMA. This time you can actually get the PUMA pretty easily if you just want to spend your time, because there's an event coming up which has the PUMA as the grand reward. But at the start I would like to tell that the event is good, but it's got a few flaws in it, which are most unfortunate. But at least you actually have a chance of getting the premium vehicle, unlike the Chieftain Mark 6. But I will be getting in those a bit later. What we're going to do in this video is that first we're gonna check how good the vehicle actually is and how well it compares to the existing vehicles that are in Armored Warfare right now at your disposal. And then we're gonna go through how are you going to get this vehicle if you feel like it's good enough for you. And finally, we'll be having some thoughts about what's good and bad about this event. Not so much of the vehicle, but as the event, how you obtain it and so on. Okay, so let's start with the BWP-1M PUMA and compare it to its most obvious vehicle, the BMP-1P at tier 4. And that is because they are pretty much exactly the same vehicle. By just looking at the hull, you see that it is exactly the same vehicle, but it's got slight differentiations. Of course, one being a Soviet armored fighting vehicle, and the PUMA being a Polish variant of the BMP essentially. I don't want to go through too much into the theories. It's gonna have some differences because it's not BMP-1M, it's BWP-1M. So, so people that know too much about tanks can bitch about these changes to me, but it's essentially exactly the same vehicle. And it's reflected in the statistics because, obvious reasons. Now, the two statistics that I have here is not what I tend to usually have, and that is because I do not have the raw statistics available for the PUMA, because I do not have that vehicle. So we'll be comparing BWP-1M PUMA with a level 2 crew to a similar kinda BMP-1P with a level 2 crew in it as well. The difference is that they have both retrofits installed on them, and both of the vehicles do have augmented optics giving plus 30 view range, and the PUMA has air induction pre-cleaner which gives acceleration of 2.24 probably percent, and a hull traverse of 15 probably percent again. It doesn't tell, but most likely it's percentage, like 15% more hull traverse and 2.25% more acceleration. And the BMP-1P, the Soviet variant, has enhanced shell materials, which translates to 5.94% more reload and 22.5% more moving accuracy. So we already see here a small differentiation. Both of them have a universal slot, which means that you can put any type of retrofit in that slot, and because of they are both armored fighting vehicles, you probably want to give something to boost your view range or something like that, just to make your life as a spotter just a little bit easier. The second retrofit slot has a difference. The PUMA has a mobility retrofit slot, which is, well, I guess it's kinda handy to beef up just a little bit your mobility. But the Soviet variant, the BMP, has a firepower retrofit slot, which I feel like is a bit better in my opinion. Because you can beef up your reload or your DPM or accuracy, whatever. I feel like that's more important than the already really good mobility. But let's go through the statistics from top to bottom and see exactly where are these small changes, because they do have some small changes. Now the damage is technically identical. The Soviet variant has 1 point of damage more with its heat shells, which is very non-existent. But the PUMA has a little bit better penetration. 18mm more penetration, which is not huge, but it's still something, because the 200mm of penetration, or 192 to be exact, is not too great. While the extra 18mm of penetration certainly helps, it's not a major buff. Now the DPM is slightly in favor of the Soviet BMP, and that is because of the retrofit that is installed. In theory, the DPM is quite exactly the same. The only difference is that there is in the alpha damage that 1 point of damage more, and if the reload is better, it's just by a sliver and just, like barely above what the PUMA has. So the DPM is very much the same if you don't, for some reason, want to use your firepower retrofit slot, beefing up your reload or your alpha damage. So the raw DPM is slightly in favor of this BMP. Now when we look at the armor, it is identical. The armor profile is identical, the armor thickness is identical, it's the same vehicle. Both of them has no armor at all, exactly the same amount of hit points, so on. Nothing new here. The mobility, well, the top speed is exactly the same. The acceleration is here a little bit better, but that is probably mostly because of the retrofit that is installed, which gives bonus to the acceleration. It might still be just a little bit better regardless in the PUMA than in the BMP, because the difference is quite big in here. 0.2 seconds. That is quite much. So I'm not certain, but if I'd have to say, I'd say that the PUMA probably has just a sliver and better acceleration than the BMP. But where we actually get quite drastic change is the camouflage and the view range. The camouflage is quite much better in the PUMA than in the BMP. The BMP doesn't have ridiculously good camouflage, but it's okay, better than average, of 0.29, or basically if you round it up, 0.3. But the PUMA has 0.34. So it's quite much better. The BMP can be fitted with a camouflage, which will beef that up a bit. And I'm not entirely sure, but I would think you cannot give the PUMA extra camouflage. As of now, at least. So the BMP can be buffed a bit, but it's not going to go as high as the PUMA's camouflage. And the view range is also quite much better. 40 meters more view range, which is just fantastic. You have 535 meters of view range here in total. Of course, that's with retrofits and commanders and so on. But still, 535 into your 4 vehicle is very good, and your camouflage isn't that bad either. So the PUMA is a really great scouting vehicle. Now when we get to the kind of gun handling statistics, the gun depression is exactly the same in both of the vehicles, which is horrendously bad and just feels really awkward. -4 degrees at the front, -3 degrees at the rear. It's bad. The turret traverse though is very good at 37.65 on both of the vehicles. But then we have some differences. The PUMA has only 0.13 accuracy, while the BMP has 0.11. So the BMP has a quite good edge on accuracy when it comes to long range. and its aiming time is also better at 2.28 in comparison to the PUMA's 2.46. And of course, these both stats will get better as you level up your crew, and you can have a different commander that will beef that up as well, but mostly it will go up a little bit with your crew as you play with the vehicle. But those are the main differences in the numbers section. What isn't reflected in the numbers section is that the Soviet BMP has a missile tube on top of the vehicle. The PUMA doesn't have it. In fact, it has no way of shooting anti-tank guided missiles at all. The BMP has, and it's external. While you shoot your main gun and you're reloading, you can switch to the missile and vice versa. So you can kind of think of the missile as an extra shot if you're like really good in your controls and kinda exploit your reloading to a certain degree. You don't have that option in PUMA. So what we see here is that the PUMA is kind of more like scouting reconnaissance vehicle with more mobility, more stealth, and the Soviet BMP is more like fast action and brute force with better accuracy, better aiming time, better DPM, and missiles. But all in all, if you have played the BMP 1P that can be unlocked in the dealer's tree right now, if you like that vehicle, you're probably gonna like the PUMA, especially if you didn't use the missiles a lot that tend to have quite horrendous DPM on them. But hey, it's external, it's to be expected. Now, how do you actually obtain the vehicle if it did spark your interest? The event that you'll have to take part in starts from the 7th of March and lasts until the 4th of April. So it is 4 full weeks or 1 month. Now you have to get 150 PvP, player versus player, wins. Not games, wins. You have to be on the winning team 150 times, which roughly translates to 300 games if your win rate is 50%, which is probably something like that, unless you're a really good player, or even if you're a really bad player, you should be getting a decent team regardless. So one team can only win, and that there are random teams, so you know what I mean. It's 50% technically a chance of winning every single match, so that translates to the 300 games. So if you have to play 300 games, so how much playing do you actually have to do then? Well, if we divide 300 games with 4 weeks, that's 75 games per week. Okay, so how much does that actually mean when we want to see how many games do I have to play per each day? And that is 10.7, which is technically 11 games per day. And it's not unreasonable, but if you multiply that number to, let's say, 6 minutes, that's 64.28 yada 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 minutes. So technically a bit more than an hour. If you play 1.5 hours, it should cut it very well. So it's not too terrible. It's not like you have to really grind every single day to get it. If you play casually for an hour or two every day, or maybe on the weekend play a bit more, and on the working days you don't have to play that much, yeah, there's actually quite good chance that you will be getting the vehicle. It's not that hard. I'm looking at World of Tanks right now with the WZ Tier 8 premium tank, which literally meant that you have to donate your kidneys to the wargaming in order to get that thing, or pay up a lot of money. So yeah, this vehicle is very obtainable, but you have to sink quite a bit of time into it. Because if you think about it, 64 minutes, roughly 64 minutes, if you play 6-minute games and you don't have to wait in queues. If we want to have a little bit more accurate statement, let's say 6 minutes in game time and 1 minute in queues. And, selecting vehicles and sitting in queues and waiting for the match to start, which is actually quite little. Let's put 30 seconds more. And let's put there 7 minutes and 30 seconds. How much time is it actually when we multiply that with the 300 games? And that is 2,250 minutes, which is 36 and a half hours. So you have to play 37 and a half hours. Which is, if you put it that way, quite a lot of time. That is 4.5 working days. If you don't take any breaks or if you don't take any lunch breaks or breaks, whatever. In 4 weeks, you have to spend 4.5 working days, like 8-hour working days, technically, to play this game. And then you will get a Tier 4 premium vehicle. So if you kind of think of it as, how much would it cost, money, how much would it cost gold or, actual money, you have to quite much sink time into the game. But if you enjoy the game a lot and you would play those games anyway, why the fuck not? But that is not the only thing you will be getting by participating in this event. And you don't have to join the event any shape or form. You just playing the game and you'll be joining the event. And there's not like any joining or queuing or anything, just play the game. So, bonus number 1. Every week, which is like from Monday to Sunday, and then it will reset. If you have 50 wins, well, which is like 100 games roughly, you will be getting flat out 1 million credits. Which is pretty good. Especially if you're new to the game and have only low tier vehicles and maybe you don't have any premium tanks or whatsoever. 1 million credits is, it's a hefty sum. If you're playing tier 8s and 9s, well, 1 million isn't a lot. But for new players, and if you're grinding for the PUMA anyway, 1 million credits, don't mind if I do. And that's every week. So potentially you can get 4 million because there's 4 weeks and each single week you can get that 1 million credits. In total to 4 million credits. But that'll mean 400 PvP games in total. So each week you have to get those 50 wins in order to gain those credits. And the second bonus is that if in this 4-week period, if you get 100 wins, which is something you will get if you are planning to get the PUMA, you will be awarded at the end of this event 14 days of premium. 14. That is generous. That is really generous in my opinion, and wow. That actually costs some money. I'm not exactly sure how much is it money, but we're talking about, I don't know, 10 euros? Maybe not that much? I don't know, could be even 10 euros. So you do actually get some value by spending your time in the game. You get the premium vehicle, you get some in-game currency, and you do get 14 days of premium time. That is probably more premium time in one event than if you complete all the Wargaming's events in World of Tanks in a year. At least that's how it used to be. I don't know if they have changed their policies and rewards. I don't know. But 14 days of premium in one event, that is generous. And I feel like that is very, very applaudable. So that's all about the bonuses and what rewards of this event. Now I'll be talking about some pros and cons of this event that I personally kinda came up with, and I feel like needs to be said. Now that we are really hyped up, let's start up with the pros. So there's a lot of different rewards. So even if something would happen to you, or your internet connection goes down, or your PC just melts, or you just get fed up with playing the game halfway through, you're not gonna be left totally with nothing. Because there are those credits that you can gain, there's the premium time you can gain, and eventually you can get the PUMA. So there's like a lot of stuff thrown at you. Just, if you want to play the game, here, take these rewards. And I think that's exactly the way you should do an event. Not like Wargaming did with the WZ whatever, I can't remember the full name of the vehicle, but it was the tier 8 premium heavy tank, which literally meant that you have to play like 1,000, 2,000 games, and even if you didn't barely get that was all for nothing gained. So it was like, oh no, there were no milestones and no small rewards. Here you got those small rewards, and I feel like that is something really, really great. And the Armored Warfare team should really keep their grip on this and just gradually give us these kind of events that really makes us want to play the game. And even though this is technically a quite literal grind, but it doesn't feel so much of a grind because you keep getting these small buffs on the way to the grand goal. And the second thing is that where the wargaming kind of falls flat on its face quite often is that the premium vehicle actually feels like a legit vehicle that people might want to actually play with. Because let's be honest, most of the free premium tanks that Wargaming has given away, they're shit. Like, really shit. No one actually plays them unless you're willing to put like a crap ton of in-game currency and with premium currency beef those things up. Then they are like playable. But in here, the PUMA seems very legit vehicle. It feels like it could be in the tree and be a force to be reckoned with, but still has some unique flavor to it, to not be just a generic clone, even though it is almost a generic clone, but it still has its own spice mixed in with it, so it kind of has its place. And the third really nice thing, in my opinion, is that the amount of time given to complete this event is quite generous. 4 weeks of time. 4 weeks of time is, I think, relatively much if you wanna grind the game. Let's say, even if you would play it on weekends and you'd be like, you know what, I'm just gonna hang out with my bros, play some games, eat some pizza and whatever, have a couple of beers and just, play the game, enjoy it and so on. You could actually get it in 4 weekends. It will require quite a lot of gaming in those 4 weekends, but you can get it. I personally try to play every single day because I probably play every single day even if there wouldn't be the event, just to get the daily bonuses and so forth. So it's almost halfway done already in there. So I feel like this event really kind of works for the player quite well. But now, there's a ton of really small things that are really nice that I kind of mentioned already as I was discussing about the vehicle and so on. I won't go those two again. But the cons section kind of starts here. And here are some things that I really kinda feel like should be addressed in the next events that are coming. It is only PvP. Why is there not any kind of option to obtain it in PvE? I mean, there's a lot of players who really don't enjoy PvP. I am not one of those people. I think the PvP certainly has its place, but I do enjoy PvE more. So you are forced to play PvP. And I think it boils down to the fact that a lot of players do prefer PvE over PvP, because let's be honest, the PvP community, at least in the in-game chat, is quite often very, very toxic. And if we compare the Armored Warfare at its current state to, for instance, the World of Tanks, which is pretty obvious competitor, the World of Tanks is a lot more complete. Its engine is a lot more refined. Its models are more detailed in the, and I mean that in the technical aspect, not how it looks, but how it plays. I feel like a lot of the time when I should be able to shoot from a certain gap or something, I do hit invisible walls and stuff like that, and that's just frustrating. And I feel like in PvE I get a lot less salty about that. In the PvP that can mean that you're dead now because in-game reasons, so fuck you. So that is something why I don't so much enjoy PvP as of now, and I feel like it will be just a matter of time before they solve all these kind of small issues and make the PvP experience a lot more refined. But all in all, they probably want to revive their PvP community. And that's when we get to the second problem. The whole system is based on grinding. It doesn't have like you have to do this and that in the game, or you have to be this and this good, you have to do this amount of damage. There's none of that. None. Zero. Nil. Which pretty much means that people are drawn in here because, probably the reasoning is that, players who just play PvE because they got scared out when they played 1 or 2 PvP games and get nuked out of the existence. They want to revive those people that, hey, maybe you want to try the PvP again, we really would like you to try the PvP again. And they're like, hey, I can get a free premium vehicle if I try it again. I'm going to try it again. They have no idea how it is to play in PvP. They're going to get nuked. So there's going to be a lot of new players, and I hesitate to use the term noob, but there are gonna be a lot of new players who have no idea how it works. The PvE is very a lot more objective based and more like a corridor shooter than the PvP. So there are gonna be a lot of players who have no idea what they're doing, and then there are the players who certainly know what they're doing, and at the same time, the good players are just racking up the kills and being frustrated at the same time because their team is half full of players who has no idea what to do, and they're like, these all noobs. So what that leads to is that players will get frustrated, and then they realize that, hey, you know what? My contribution doesn't matter. So if I queue up to the game, and I load the game, and then I Alt F4, that's as good as me trying to beat the game. Or if I just suicide rush, same outcome. I don't have to play the game, but I can get the rewards regardless. So I can already 100% guarantee you there will be, at least at some point of the event, a lot of AFK players. Or if there's no AFK, there's a lot of suicide rushing and just people who just, the faster I die, the faster I get to another game. Because, if you would play, let's say, a 1-minute games, every single game you play, 1-minute game, you would get this event super fast in a 1 week easily. in comparison to like if you are like, yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna be the top of the team every single match, and we're gonna win every single match. It's gonna take a hell of a lot longer if you are, the last man standing in every single match. So that's going to be a problem. I can guarantee that. And there should be some kind of solution to this. What World of Tanks has done, I feel like is pretty good. Be on maybe the top 10 players of your team. Because the AFK players will, be at the bottom of the team list, and they will not gain the victory from the game. Well, even though they win, they do not get that extra one win towards the grand goal. So that is something they should implement. But of course, if you get a team that is very good, there's gonna be the 5 people who won't get that. So maybe there should be like, I don't know, it would be very hard to implement, I think, but you should have some kind of milestones or something that you have to do in order for this win to count, because this will just be a bot and AFK farming festival. That's what I'm afraid of. And I think that's about all I'm going to complain about the in-game flaws. The third flaw that I found out that kind of bugged my mind is that even though it is a BM, even though the PUMA has its own flavor and unique camouflage and so forth, it is a BMP. We have 2 lines almost of BMPs already. There's like hundreds of different kind of tanks out there, and you had to go with the BMP. Even if it would be like a kind of experimental BMP or something, but no, it's the BMP-1. We have a couple of BMP-1s already in the game. It's just, yeah, I of course I want the BMP over to not having the BMP, but I feel like there's so much variation you could have, and you decided to go with the vehicle that we kind of already have. But maybe that's tied into Polish vehicles. We already have the, I don't know what it was called, but the Polish tier 10 vehicle that is coming to the game. Maybe they want to have like a lot of Polish vehicles, and there's probably not that much Polish vehicles that would fit into tier 4. I don't know, I'm not a tank historian, and the modeling required is not that high because the base model is already in the game. You have to just modify the vehicle to go from the BMP-1 to the PUMA. So probably a mixture of those reasons. I don't know. But that is just something which is like, you could have, you probably should have, but you didn't, so be it. No harm done, but just mild annoyances. One of these first world problems. But the final thing that really kind of catched my eye and just bugged me and just made me feel like a bit, not angry, but annoyed, just a little bit annoyed, is that I didn't even know you already had a chance to gain the PUMA. Did you know you had a chance to get the PUMA? I didn't. So how could you have gotten it? Well, apparently some streamers and YouTubers got like maybe 100, 150, maybe more, maybe less codes that you can redeem yourself the PUMA. I just didn't happen to follow certain YouTubers or streamers. I had no idea that, I could have had a chance to get it. But hey, that's just kinda extra. I just feel like they could have mentioned it in some kind of post earlier. Maybe they did, maybe I missed that. But I feel like they could have still done a little bit better job of, in the information about informing people that, hey, you know what, you can actually get a free premium vehicle. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like, it's just odd that they don't announce those kind of things so vocally. And it's not just if you're thinking, oh, Lucas is just jealous. No, it's not jealousy. I feel like people who don't follow certain people have a huge disadvantage. It's just wrong. If you're reading their posts on the main page regularly, I feel like you should be on equal footing in comparison to a person who follows certain YouTubers or streamers or internet personalities. That is what I feel like. And speaking of being on the equal footing, the Challenger Mark 6, which they kind of considered to be a successful event. I feel like it was like annoying. Well, you could say that, he's salty, he didn't get one. Yeah, but it boiled down to RNG. Cause, again, certain people got access to a crap ton of codes, and one way of getting the code was, watching a dev stream or watching someone else stream, and they would gradually pick someone at random from the chat and give them the key. So it was like, I don't know, less than a percentage chance at best to gain the key, and you had to sit and watch through the whole damn stream, even if you didn't like the streamer, even if your connection and whatever the stream looked shite, you had to watch it. It felt like, I have to do this, and then I have non-existent chance of actually getting the goddamn key. I feel like this PUMA event is a lot better in the sense that you could get it with a huge luck from a stream or YouTube or whatever, but you can also get it 100% chance if you sink your time into it. That is a huge improvement. But I feel like they could have done a little bit better on the information sector. The Chieftain Mark 6, I think it was a bit BS that you didn't have a very good chance of getting it. The PUMA, it's kind of forgiven because you can grind it out yourself, and it's not dependent on RNG when you're just hanging on a stream. So it gets a freebie on that one. I was just a little bit disappointed about the informing of people that how you can actually obtain it, but at the end of the day, everything is well, and you can get the goddamn vehicle. You can get the goddamn vehicle yourself, so yeah, no harm done. Woo, this video got a hell of a lot longer than I originally thought. I originally thought that this video would be like 15 to 20 minutes long, but yeah, I seem to like a lot of rambling. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informational to you and of use to you. I try to remember to have a link to this announcement on the Armored Warfare main page. But once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next video.